Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Quran in English. My name is Ahmad, and I'm taking you through the third and final section of Surah Yasin, the chapter of Ya and then Sin, two letters, which ironically is a name, but in this context it is not a name. And I said at the beginning of this chapter that there's something about this chapter, and as I'm reading it on the sixth last day of Ramadan, there is something about this chapter, but it's not resonating with me. I'm struggling with it as I did with Ar-Rum. I struggled with Ar-Rum. I was struggling to see it, and I'm struggling with Yasin. But we have As-Safat next, which is very interesting and very cool, and has a lot of significance. So I'm curious to see it. So yeah, what am I doing here before I get into it? I am trying to read the Quran and practice how to say it. I am discussing what I've learned and think, because I'm trying to get closer to God, and I believe this is the best way to do so. Though today you will see me struggle a bit with the verses, I think. But yeah, that being said, is that there will be mistakes on this channel. If you don't like that, then I don't think this channel is for you. But other than that, yeah, let's get into it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. Did I not make an oath or promise? Did I not warn you, enjoin you, command you? Ahd is from a promise. And I placed a promise upon you. Didn't I tell you? It's kind of like, yeah, command is one way of saying it. There is some sort of oath associated with this, that you're under. I put you under oath in a weird way. That you children of Adam, that you do not worship the devil. Now, what does it mean to worship the devil? Now, a lot of the verses that we talk about today and a lot of the verses in the Quran talk about polytheism versus monotheism. And I feel like at the time of the Prophet, polytheism was more prevalent. That you should not worship other gods, but you should worship God. And I think all of the arguments of the Quran make sense at the time of the Prophet, because the Arabs were believing in multiple gods, or worshipping the devil, or worshipping something that they thought was God but was the devil. I don't find that's the case. The closest I can come up to in our modern age today is that people worship money, people worship power, people worship fame. Maybe in some metaphysical sense they're worshipping the devil, but it's not a literal worship of the devil. It's not a prayer. It's not a hoping that you can reconvene it. It's a try to get as much power for yourself. Try to get as much money for yourself. Try to get as much fame for yourself. And those are the metrics in which you define success. That's not the same as worship. Revere, look up to, value, yes. Worship, I wouldn't say so. And I guess this is where a lot of my frustrations come from, because a lot of these feel like they're addressing a problem from a long time ago. Of course, there are certain people that worship. There are lots of witchy communities that worship things other than God. But I don't feel like they're the priority. I don't know. Anyway, God enjoined or commanded the children of Adam, do not worship the devil. He is for you an enemy that is clear. And then he says, وَأَنْ اعْبُدُونِي هَذَا صِرَاطٌ مُسْتَقِيمٌ. And that you should worship me. This is a path that is straight. And again, my natural human tendencies, whenever a human tells me, do this, I have a natural aversion to being told what to do. You know what I mean? I don't know why. But that's specifically me as a person. I struggle with being told what to do. I have to believe in what I'm doing in order for me to do it. If you tell me, do it, and that this is the right way, this is the path, I'd rather you explain why it's the right path than to tell me it's the right path. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I said, today's verses, I don't know. I don't know. And worship me alone. Don't worship the devil. Worship me. This is the correct path. And then it says, وَلَقَدْ أَضَلَّ مِنْكُمْ جِبْلًا كَثِيرًا أَفَلَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْقِلُونَ. And certainly he has led astray from you a multitude that is great, a great multitudes of you. Then will you not use reason? So, I mean, on this, the duality here is worship God versus worship the devil. What if it's worship neither? Maybe that's not what God's talking about, and maybe that's for a different point of the Quran, and maybe I don't have to bring that point up right now, but this is kind of comparing, if you had to worship something, would you rather worship the devil or worship God? Of course, rather worship God. The reason I am on this quest to find God is to figure out how to connect with the divine, and how do I believe that this is true. So what is my problem today? I don't know. But I'm struggling. And I don't know if I'm struggling because it's like the last week of Ramadan, which I always have the least amount of focus and the least amount of conscious ability, or if it's specifically the words in front of me that I'm struggling to connect with. But I am noticing a struggle, and I don't know why. I have been trying to use reason as much as possible. So what's my problem? I don't know. هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون. This is hell that you used to be, that you were promised, that you were warned of. أصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون. Reach it today because of what you used to disbelieve. Burn in it today for your disbelief. Just all seems very angry. Why is God angry? If God created everything, why is God angry? Think of it as like white blood cells and red blood cells. When the white blood cells are fighting a disease within the body, it resembles anger. But then the disease or virus came from outside of the body, and that's what created the problem. If everything was created within the body, then attacking its own body sounds kind of like counterproductive. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. Today we seal upon their mouths, and their hands will speak to us and bear witness, and their feet, their hands will talk to us and bear witness, and their feet. Oh no, their hands will talk to us, and their feet will bear witness about what they used to earn. Which is like horror of the most degree. Sealing mouths, speaking hands, feet testifying. They really are depicting absolute horror. And I've said this before, that I struggle with horror. Also, fair to point out that these verses are all about hell, because we covered heaven in the previous verses. That there's always the yin and yang, the heaven, the sweet reward, and the hell. And maybe I just have a specific disdain for hell or frustration. I don't know. ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنا يبصرون. And if we had willed, we would have obliterated their eyes, so they would race to find the path, but how would they see? This is horror. And I really like I said, maybe my ego struggles to find this. My ego struggles to respond to this. Of like, I'm telling you all these negative things so you can do right. Maybe these verses aren't for me. And maybe that's kind of the point. Is that not the whole Quran has to be for everybody. It's a long ass Quran. Some parts of it will be resonating with some people and some parts of it will resonate for the others. Doesn't mean that all of it has to resonate to everyone. Especially because it's also long. So maybe I should just read them and just describe them and not be too attached to them. وَلَوْ نَشَاءُ لَمَسَخْنَاهُمْ عَلَى مَكَانَتِهِمْ فَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا مُضِيًا وَلَا يَرْجِعُونَ. And if we had willed it, we would have transformed them on their places, then they would not have been able to proceed nor go back. Now, transfigure them on the spot here, they've changed them, meaning by the ability to turn them to stone or an inanimate object. All we know is there's a transformation, and they can't move forward, and they can't return. They're frozen in place. And it just feels like a flex of power, right? Like God can do this. Be afraid. You know? وَمَنْ نُعَمِّرْهُ نُنَكِّسْهُ فِي الْخَلْقِ أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ. And whoever we grant him long life, we reverse him in creation, then will they not use intellect? Now this we have seen before, time again, human beings are born weak, and they reach their prime, then they grow weak after a certain age. I want to see if it's 3054, because I disagreed with one. Now this is already pretty good. Old age, does that do with the other reference? Yeah, the gray hair. Now this is the good reference. There's another reference that we talked about, that God would return them to the weakest of age, and people are like, that's what this means. I'm like, no, that's not what this means. That's what Surah Ar-Rum 54 means when he's like gray. That's, weak and gray. That's clear. Here, I also agree, it's what it says, but when it said returning back to the smallest of age, did feel like reincarnation to me. Just wanted to bring it up because I like to bring up these points. I would have to find it to figure out which verse it is. Like I said, I'm just a bit too tired. وَمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ الشِّعْرَ وَمَا يَنْبَغِي لَهُ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ وَقُرْآنٌ مُبِينٌ. And we did not teach him poetry, the poetry, and it would not be befitting for him. Indeed, it is only a reminder and a Quran that is clear. Now, I have once made the argument that the Quran is poetry, even though the Prophet Muhammad was not a poet. And here it is saying this book is only a reminder and a clear Quran. It's only a reminder and a Quran that is clear. So it is indicating that it is not poetry. Which I was always like, but there's a lot of elements of poetry within the Quran. Repetition, perfect Arabic, prose, examples, draw lines, soliloquies. It sounds musical, and I know that the recitations are not singing, but for a person who does not know the difference, they will tell you that that is singing, because it has a melody, it has a tune, it can be sung to a specific register, and some recite it beautifully and have a feeling of evoking beauty and majesty. All of those give me the feeling of poetry. Repetition gives me the feeling of poetry. Writing in perfect grammatical form. But this verse is clearly saying it is only a reminder and a Quran that is clear. It is saying that it is not poetry. We did not teach him poetry. It wasn't about him being a poet. It was about it not being poetry. And we did not teach him poetry. وَمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ الشِّعْرَ وَمَا يَنْبَغِي لَهُ. And it would not be befitting for him. Now this is causing me to have a crisis of faith. I don't know why. I've always wanted to transition towards blending in the worlds of art and religion. And this feels like, at least from the Quranic perspective, that the twain shall not meet. Well, actually, no. It says the Quran isn't poetry. That doesn't mean... It did also have a counter poetry. Quran verse against poets. Shu'ara, right? Because Shu'ara is the poets. We're here to learn, so this is why we're doing this. وَالشُّعَرَاء يَتَّبِعُهُمُ الْغَاوُونَ. And for the poets are followed by deviants. أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّهُمْ فِي كُلِّ وَادٍ يَهِيمُونَ. Do you not see how they rant in every field, the poets? وَأَنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ مَا لَا يَفْعَلُونَ. They only say what they never do. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Except for those who believe and do good. And they mention God a lot, and they defend themselves from after that, from how they were wronged. And those who wronged will know to whom the final return will be. So there was an exception for the poets. Yeah. So maybe poetry in itself is not bad, but the Quran is not poetry, is clearly being stated in this 3669 in ICE. Yeah. لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين. To warn who is alive, and so that it may be proven true the word upon the disbelievers. So this Quran is not poetry, so it can warn people who are alive and fulfill the decree against the believers. And maybe that's kind of the point. The point is it had to be serious. It couldn't be playful in order for it to be taken seriously. And so that it may be proven true the word against the disbelievers. Yeah, maybe it can't be an argument that they use. Oh, we just thought it was poetry. You know what I mean? They can hate it, they can argue with it, they can disagree with it, but they take it seriously. They know that we take it seriously. I think that's kind of important. أولم يروا أن خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون. Do they not see that we have created for them from what our hands have made, from cattle? So فهم لها مالكون. So then they are for them the owners. Now here, single-handedly is not the right translation, because they're saying from what our hands have created. So they've explained what our hands have created as single-handedly, as in only we have created them. But I always struggle with this. Do they not see that we have created for them what our hands... Because it's like we see the cattle, and we see that we can own the cattle, but how do we see the connection between the creation of the cattle and us owning the cattle and God? We can't see the connection between God. You can understand it, and it's a mental seeing, but it's not necessarily a literal seeing. And I can imagine it to be true. Doesn't mean that I see it to be true. Seeing is believing, believing is seeing. I am struggling. I don't know if you can tell. It also feels like my brain is stressed, all the time. Stuff. Anyway. وَذَلَّلْنَاهَا لَهُمْ فَمِنْهَا رُكُوبُهُمْ وَمِنْهَا يَأْكُلُونَ. So we have tamed them for them, and from some of them they ride, and from some of them they eat. Yeah, so some animals are pets, some animals are ridden, some animals are eaten. We have domain over the animals. وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا مَنَافِعُ وَمَشَارِبُ أَفَلَا يَشْكُرُونَ. And for them is benefits and things to drink, then will they not give thanks? To be honest, that I do. Whenever I eat, whenever I drink, I'm always very grateful and imbued with the sense of gratitude. And maybe that's kind of all that it's calling for. وَاتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ آلِهَةً لَعَلَّهُمْ يُنصَرُونَ. And they've taken from besides God other gods so that they may be helped. This I have seen today. I know I argued against it earlier, but I seem to imagine it a bit more today. Also, it's very important to me to remind everybody that Allah just means the God. Because I've had other people like, oh, do you worship Allah or Yahweh or God? And I'm like, there are three words for the same. If I'm speaking English, I would say God. If I'm speaking Arabic, I would say Allah. If I'm speaking Hebrew, I would say Yahweh. It's just, as long as you imagine one creator, one source, you can call him whatever your language calls him. You know, it's not that Allah means a specific person. So anyone worshipping other than the ultimate source of everything is the problem here. لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون. They're not able to help them, but they are for them hosts that will be brought. The things that they worship cannot help the pagans, even though the pagans serve the idols as dedicated guards or armies. Another meaning is that those idols will be assembled to witness the torment of their worshippers on the judgment day. وَهُمْ لَهُمْ جُنْدٌ مُحْضَرُونَ. They will be brought as hosts for them. That actually makes more sense, because although they serve the idols and dedicate guards, what does muhdarun mean? Being brought. Being brought is missed from this translation. This we can all understand. لا يستطيعون نصرهم. They're not able to help them. That's very clear. They're worshipping other gods so that they can be helped, but they're not even able to be helped. And they are for them hosts that will be brought. وَهُمْ لَهُمْ جُنْدٌ مُحْضَرُونَ. But they are for them armies that will be brought. I do kind of understand the meaning between both. That they do serve the idols by like protecting them and fighting on their behalf. And the fact that it's brought does give me an indication of something about Judgment Day. But I don't fully understand it, is all I'm saying. فَلَا يَحْزُنْكَ قَوْلُهُمْ إِنَّا نَعْلَمُ مَا يَسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ. So let it not grieve you their speech. Indeed, we know what they conceal and what they declare. Again, it does feel like it's more prevalent at the time of the Prophet than it is now. I think now the problem that we face more days now is lack of belief rather than polytheism. And that's what I wanted to make as an argument before. I feel like if the Quran were to be revealed today, it would more often argue lack of belief rather than belief in other things, I think. But what do I know? أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين. Did the human not see that we have created him from a semen drop? And then suddenly he is an opponent that is clear. He openly challenges us. Now again, we don't technically see, however we understand nowadays. And this would have been impossible to understand at the time of the Prophet. What does created us from a semen drop mean? Well, no, actually. You can kind of understand that sex produces semen, and semen produces children. You could kind of figure it out back then. You didn't have to understand the biology of it, like eggs and semen, but you could kind of figure it out through experimentation. But anyway, created from nothing, but now he's an opponent that is clear. Like you were created from sperm and now you're challenging God. وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم. And he sets forth examples, he argues with many examples, and he forgets his own creation, and his being his or hers. His is not indicating male, it's just what Arabs use to indicate both. And they said for us, they argue with us forgetting that they were created, saying, who will give life to the bones while they are decomposed? Who will bring us back after we're dead? This is obviously the day of, the claim that it's the day of judgment, the day of resurrection, and the answer to that is قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. Say, the one who produced them the first time will give them life again, and he is of every creation all-knowing. Why is that what is being said? Isn't this talking about the capabilities that he can create? Does that mean that creation was created multiple times before? Because for every creation, he knows. Here they've translated it to every created being, but it's talking about life, death, and rebirth. Now, I don't know. وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ خَلْقٍ عَلِيمٍ. And he is for every creation all-knowing. Strange. الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون. The one who created for you from the green tree a fire, then behold you are from it igniting. You are kindling the fire. Now, I had to read this footnote to understand what it was talking about. This verse refers to two types of Arabian tree, the marh and afar. Oh, no. Two different types of trees which produce fire when their green branches are rubbed together. Apparently there was a way to start fire by rubbing trees together. That's pretty interesting. I am curious about this. I want to know. Marq and Afar, two types of Arabian trees known in the Arabic tradition for their ability to produce fire when their green, seemingly wet branches are rubbed together. To create a fire drill, even when not completely dry. These trees are referenced in the Quran, Surah Al-Waqiyah. Oh. Images? I will have to Google this afterwards because I'm very curious about this. I feel like I should learn this lesson. But it's very interesting. Yeah, he's the one who gave you fire from the trees. Behold, you can kindle fire from them. Very interesting. أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم. Is it not for the one who created the heavens and the earth capable that he should create something exactly like them? Which this is like the ultimate argument. Is like, how do you exist? The same way that you exist, could you not exist once more? Why is that so impossible for you to believe? Most people go, I don't know how I exist, therefore, I don't know if I can exist again. I'm like, okay, you do know that you can exist now, therefore, you could exist again. just because now is possible. Yeah, most people just say, I don't know, you know. In Arabic, my mom taught me this. كلمة ما بعرف بتريح. The phrase, I don't know, puts the person at ease. I don't know means, oh, I don't have to think about it. I don't know. Can you do this? I don't know. Can you do this? I don't know. I'm not going to do anything. I don't know if I can do it. I had a dream. That someone was saying, don't joke too much while you're reading the Quran. And I was like, no, that's how I enjoy it. I need to enjoy the learning. If I don't enjoy the learning, I can't do the learning. And if I have to learn, therefore let me enjoy what I'm doing. You know what I mean? As you can tell, the fasting and dreams and nightmares are happening all around me. Allah yastar. Here the argument is definitely he can. If he created you once, he can create you again, and he is the supreme creator and the all-knower. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. Only his command, if he wants something to be, he says to it, be, and so it is. Be, so it be. Because again, repetition, which is what I talk about. And someone was saying that everything in this world is being sustained by God's word, kun. God's word saying be is the sound that is making all existence be. Which I love that visual. I love that visual of the word kun giving life to everything at all times. It's very interesting. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. So glory be he that's between his hands the dominion of everything. He owns everything, and to him you will be returned. Somehow I struggled in the beginning, but I struggled less towards the end, and somehow it makes more sense to me, and I feel calm. I think I just struggled with the hell verses. I don't know why. Anyway, that's it for today. So as usual, we always end with صدق الله العلي العظيم. Now, the reason why as-safat, or the rows, is relevant is because it is the understanding of Muslims that this is talking about angels. Though when I read it the last time, I thought maybe it could apply to more than the angels. So yeah, let's read it. I've read it before, but I think we have to read it with the level of detail that I'm focusing on now in order to see how I feel and what I learn and what I think about it. But yeah, today wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I love you. I appreciate you. Get out of here. Ma'as salama. Bye.